behind that midline of the table. I got to get him up here. So now, in future classes, I am going to standardize the way that we scoot them forward. I've tried to here, but this is why I want you to do it in the final. Just pretend we've standardized it. That creeps me out.
Sorry.
I was like, why are you pointing a tape at me? That's good. I like that. It's a great case, actually.
Is that a
Totally
phone?
creepy. So here's how I want you to scoot the patient forward. Hand on the outside of the knee, not in between their legs, not up their skirt, up their pants, in their shirt, anything like that. No hugging them. Right here. Arm here. Scoot towards him. There we go. He did most of that. Almost all of it. In fact, he needed me in the chest. So, good job. Done way too much caffeine. But that's the way I want it to happen. If you allow the patient to do most, and he slid that far because these pants are actually sliding. Most of the pants, like jeans and stuff, don't slide as easily. You do have to help the patient again, but let the patient do most of the work. I don't want to see anything creepy. That's why I'm standardizing this, because I I try to let you guys be free spirit, do kind of your own thing, but a lot of this stuff is just way too weird to me. So maybe it's just I'm getting crude in my old age. So pull the shoulder out just enough to create a nice little base. Now again, notice what I did. Once I scooted him forward, I'm maintaining contact here, and I'm not going to let that contact break. I'm not going to do this, because he's going to have to stabilize himself on the table, and a lot of your patients aren't going to be able to do that, especially if they're in acute pain. So make contact. And this, I almost always use this thigh for that contact because you're not incredibly flexible. But if you were on the table, this thigh would have to control that leg, because if I let it go, your upper body would stay right there and your lower body would just turn 180 degrees. So it's maintaining control too. So even though I don't need this with you, this is going to be my contact leg. I don't need it, it's great, it's still there. So this is the starting position for all of the lumbar setups. And really, this is very similar to what we did in the pelvis too. So now, let's say I noticed a rotation restriction at L3, 4. If I'm setting him up like this, what rotation would that be for?
Right.
Correct. Right side's up, right rotation. So now, I got him set up right, correctly. I'm going to palpate the SPs of L3 and L4. I find that the PSISs, level to those, are going to be L5, L4, and L3. So I got L3, L4 SPs. So now I'm going to flex his leg and his hip until I feel L3 and L4 do this. Separate a bit. And now I know what I've done is I flexed the low back to the point at which L3 and L4 are moving away from each other a little bit. So now at least I know I'm creating a little bit of tension at that joint. So any other movement that I'm going to do is probably going to affect that joint first. So now I maintain contact with those SPs. I rotate the upper back, right until the L3 SP does this. Moves like that, just a little bit. It's very subtle. It's not that dramatic. And now what I know is not only have I done this, but I've rotated that joint a little bit. You don't feel tension in that joint right now, do you? And you're not going to. This isn't bringing tension in the joint. This is just starting to tighten that joint up. So now that I know I'm there, I keep everything right where it is. I use this leg and my arm to bring him over like this. How far do I roll him over?
To get
As far as I need to. What about this leg? See how that unhooked? I don't care about that. Doesn't matter. If for some reason the patient, like some of you will be so relaxed and probably snoring that when that leg falls out, it's like dangling out here and doing stuff like that. If that's the case, just understand that that's not real life. Like most of your patients, that will not happen. If anything, it's going to happen just like that. It'll slip out a little bit, and it's not going to be a big deal. If you have to, you can reset. You can set that up like that. What I would never do is ask the patient to hold their leg there. You can do that with your partner if they're being obnoxiously flexible. And that's just like, some of you are just like, I'm not going to help you at all. Fall off the table, smack your face. Right? I'm just being a good patient. So that'll happen with this leg. Don't worry too much about it. So I got the flexion there. I got the rotation there. I roll the patient over, and I roll them over enough to get my center over my contact. What contact am I using right now? Hypothenar mammillary. So now, I got the beginning parts of the tension to happen. How do I finish it off? There,
Rotate the-
tension.
Yep.
That's how I finish it off.
So you're
And then if I-
keeping a good pressure now with your hand, or? is
Pressure.
it-
Not hard. Notice my arm's not shaking or anything. I'm really just kind of leaning my body weight in there. I'm not pushing.
Sorry.
So just like that, if I were going to do the adjustment, I'd do it right here. Since we're not doing that with each other, I'm going to let off on the tension. And the way I do the thrust is keep all of this tight, this hand and this hand. Lift up a little bit, drop. Not that much. All you have to do is lift up like this. When I drop down, my whole body drops and my pecs contract. Like that. Now when I'm done, I don't just leave them like that. Help the patient up.
Just trying to be a good patient.
Yeah, no, you were good. No, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to just like let you go because it's going to be scary for a lot of patients. So if I needed to get a stronger drop, I would do it again. Keep that pressure, lift up a little bit more, throw my whole body down, maybe even grunt a little bit. Because we really need to get that whole body contraction for that to work. I'm not punching him in the back. I'm contracting my pecs, which automatically do that. And when my body drops, it drops on the leg. The leg will rotate the lower body. My contact will rotate the lower body. Because the upper body's staying right there, the lower body, upper body go in different directions, and that's torsion, that's rotation. What is the difference between that contact and the spinous pull contact? What's the benefit of the spinous pull to that contact?
You get to.
I mean, in theory, you're localizing it. The force more.
You're using your forearm more to anchor.
Did you say for like patients who weigh more, you have you
Your
use your forearm to,
Yeah.
and the fingers, yeah.
Why? Exactly. You can't roll them over enough to get that contact in. I got a really big patient. I roll them over as much as I'm comfortable. Like if I roll a patient over like this, that's about as far as I'm going to roll any patient over. I'm going to roll them over further than that. That's way too far. Something happened wrong. We're going to talk about what goes wrong when you have to feel like you have to roll them over in a second. But if the patient's really big, I'm never going to be able to get them here or even here. They're going to be out here like that. I can't do that adjustment there. So the spinous pull contact allows me not to roll the patient over. So I start with them here. I find that rotation. I get that gapping. I put my knee on top of the patient's knee. I grab that spinous. I put my forearm down here. I keep this upper body right where it is. And I kick and pull at the same time. So I didn't need to roll them over at all. So even if they were a lot bigger, I wouldn't need to try to get them like this. On this table's a little bit high. If we had somebody even a little bit bigger than you, I'd probably be in a weird, uncomfortable position to do that mammillary push contact because this table's really high for me. And a high table means I'm not going to really be able to roll the patient over that much. So, let me get somebody more flexible with you on here. Sorry. So we have a little bit more flexibility.
Okay.
Even this flexible, Gumby.
Okay, on your side, facing me. So, how far do you have to roll the patient over when you're doing the mammillary push?
Until you can get the contact.
So you get the contact over here. But what if the contact's already done? You don't have to roll them over. So this in the last section, I forgot to mention this. Well, I mentioned it afterwards, but I want to mention it now. So what'll happen is, you'll get somebody like this. She's already kind of completely torqued herself. But let's say she was like this. If I try to bring tension when she's already here, her legs are already slammed against the table. I can't do that and then roll her over more. We will never get tension in this back here. So, we first have to make sure that we're rotating the upper body until that upper SP is moving a little bit right there. She's almost completely supine the upper body. This is ridiculous. It's like exorcist stuff going on over here. But it is. But I had to do that. So I rolled the upper body until that first SP started moving a little bit, and that's when it happened. So notice the angles here, and look, she's so flexible, but right now, her leg's kind of off the table. If I didn't do that, leg would be on the table already. You can't do this. So roll her over enough, legs off the table a little bit, now I can roll everything over. When I roll everything over, I'm still here. Notice where her upper body is? Look, it's at an angle like this. If your patient's upper body is straight up and down like that, or worse, like that, you've rolled them over way too much. There's no way you're ever going to get tension there.
Is there like another position to adjust in or something else you can do?
I mean,
I
no.
like my tension.
But if you develop tension, we got tension there. I could probably easily, I wouldn't even need to thrust that hard. Just boom. But you have to develop tension, and this is why we're doing this in steps. The first step is to gap the SPs, but the second step is to rotate the upper body until that top SP starts to move. With somebody flexible, you're going to have to rotate that upper body a lot further for that to happen. But if you rotate it a lot further, then rolling the patient over isn't as much of a task. Again, notice the legs off the table. If you go to roll the patient over and their legs already slamming onto the side of the table, something's got to give. Because you roll them over and you drop on them and you're basically just punching the side of their leg into the side of the table, and that's not cool at all. And you're not going to be able to get the tension. Does that make sense, everybody? So if you're setting it up and you go to get your contact and you're already here, you don't need to roll over anymore. What do you do next? You finish up the tension. And then you're right there, you're done. You don't have to roll them over. If you go to roll them over and your arm's out here, you got to roll them over until the arm's here. Okay? Let's practice those two. Yeah, question?
Can you just talk through one more time exactly just because the place that you dropped on the patient?
Yeah, let's do it on a flexible patient because this becomes a little bit of a problem. So, roll the patient over here. Try like that. See? My center's here. My hand's in line with my center. I'm close to it.
And you're right over it, the
Yeah.
ladder.
So I'm going to drop with my body towards my hand and my leg down. Watch what I do this. I'm going to do it slow motion. See what happens there? Rotation. And right at the end is when my body goes boom. Right at the end is where I do that. And that's where you get that final little bit that actually does the... In fact, on a lot of people, that's all you really need to do. The drop, the drop is kind of like... And that's why people think, oh, you know, it's strength. None of it's strength. I mean, if I can talk while I'm doing it, I'm not really using my strength. I'm sweating like a pig right now, but I have no idea why that is. I literally I've soaked through my undershirt. Like an upside down McDonald's sign in my undershirt. Just go practice that. Thanks for getting me.